So South Africa, a take on Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka, of course, for an A tour. It will be ODIs and a 4 day series as well. So I thought that we'll do a preview ahead of the tour, seeing that the SAA team has now traveled to Sri Lanka. And yeah, there's a lot to get into and a lot to talk about because there's been a lot of confusion maybe around the team selection. There's been some questions about certain players that are in the team, selection with regards to the one spinner, about Sri Lanka itself, etc. So on today's show, this is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be going deep into this discussion, and I'm also going to be asking the fans as well. And I want you guys to say in the live chat, what are the outcomes that you would want to see from this particular tour? But before we get going, before we get started, there's a couple of things that I'd like you guys to please do. Please subscribe to the channel. Please click that notification bell for all future videos. Don't forget to also download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. We just published the latest issue yesterday, so it's a free subscription. So please go ahead and subscribe and get your latest issue right now. The link is as well on the screen as well as in the description. As you can see, Matthew Brzezinski is on the front cover. We've have features from Bayer Swanepoel, Imran Khan. We have quite a few coaches that we spoke to ahead of the new season as well to get a thought into their minds going into the new season, but also a reflection of what they felt went right or went wrong in the previous season. So please go ahead and download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly as well. Then I'd also like you guys to please help us keep the lights on and keep the show going and keep the content going for you. Support us by becoming a patron today. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. And also, what I would like you to do is smash the like button, comment and share to get us into recommended feeds, etc. So go and do so right away. The likes are very important, guys, because that is truly how we rank on YouTube. So please go ahead and smash that like button as well. And then also go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all regular updates. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. Looking forward to discussing this with you guys. A very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics magazine. This is your preview daily show. I'm your host, Khalid Maidin. This is the show where we talk about everything that has to do with the South Africa A tour to Sri Lanka. So there's a couple of things I want to get into before I get my first guest on the show. First and foremost, let's just have a discussion about the nitty gritty things. I know, guys, I'm in a thick jacket at the moment. It is ice cold in Cape Town, by the way. You can feel we can really feel that it's winter and winter's here. So let's first go ahead and talk about the squad. So here's the squad for you guys for the tour to Sri Lanka. It is Tony de Zorzi as the captain, Matthew Brzezinski, Deva Brevis, Zubair Hamza, Jordan Herman, Keegan Peterson, Sinetembe Klashile, Tristan Stubbs, Kyle Verreynne, and then in the all-rounders department we have Bayer Swanepoel, who's a swing bowler, seam bowler, Gerald Coetzee as a seam bowler, Senator Mutasamy as the only spinner, Tsepo Moreki, Luto Sapamla, and Lazard Williams. So those are the guys that we have for you in the squad. And then, of course, we have the itinerary for you guys as well. We play one-day matches first up. On Sunday is the first game in Kandy. All of them are going to be played in Kandy. So we've got the 4th of June, the 6th of June, and the 8th of June. And then we go into the 4-day matches, which I think a lot of us are very excited about. And that's from the 12th to the 15th of June in Dambulla, and then 19th to the 22nd of June as well in the same venue. So that's the fixtures for you guys, so that you guys know what's taking place. Now, I did ask if these games are going to be played on SuperSport. It is not. So we're going to have to wait and see if Sri Lanka does release a YouTube link or something to be able to stream it live on YouTube, because usually for these type of games they do give us an opportunity to be able to live stream these games and the SAA team, and as well as the women's team sometimes as well. So I'm crossing fingers and hoping that that happens. Now, there is a couple of quotes that I do want to show you guys, and this is from Werner's article on Supersports. I want you guys to please go to supersport.com as well to go read his article in full, because there's a lot more in depth than just the quotes that I've selected. But this will give you an insight into what Shukri Conrad was thinking. I mean, I've had conversations with him as well to try and understand what was the reasons for certain things and for certain selections. And he did answer Werner in this article as well. He says, I have been to Dambulla before. It doesn't really spin there. I'll be very surprised if Palakele were the one dayers will be played spins as well, as they will use it for their players as preparation for the World Cup qualifiers. So that's some insight into what the coach's thoughts are ahead of this game, and with regards to his thought process when it comes to analyzing the entire tour and analyzing the venues. It is great opportunity to see someone like Brevi, Lex Brevis, with a ball in hand. We would like to see him in pressure situations. He's the type of character who thrives on that. It is a great opportunity for Brevi and Stubbo to get a few overs and give us options. If they have a really good tour with a bat and ball, I might just give Rob Walters a good option or a headache. We also want to give Senator Mutsami a good go as the number one spinner. So those are important quotes for us to understand. Now, if you take that into consideration, the squad makes sense. Now, I do still think that someone like I do still think that Prince O'Brien was very unfortunate to miss out on the squad. Um, but Shukri focusing on Senator Mutasami, who is the batter, and as you can see, there's a clip on social media from our interview with Senator, who he claims to be a batter that spins as well. So, so he sees himself as a batter first, and I'm sure that the coaches see him as a batter first too. So that has always been a priority for Shukri. He came in at the beginning and he spoke about that number 7 position in Test cricket, particularly where he said he wanted someone that can bat, and that is going to be the main reason for his selection with there. And if he can find someone that can bat and bowl, that is obviously a plus for him, and it's going to be a massive weapon for that Test team. So the same thought process is going into this particular one over here, and so that is what um, Shukri had to say with regards to that. Lubabalo saying that one spinner is weird. I hope that cleared it up and makes it less weird now. Lorenzo Bailey saying, said it when the squad was announced that we needed at least one more spinner. Leave all the optics about weather, etc. When you play in the subcontinent, you can't have one frontline spinner in the squad. Well, it depends if the conditions are going to be conducive for spin or not. It doesn't make sense if the conditions are not conducive for spin to pick an extra spinner in that case. So that's the thought process, and that's what Shukri Conrad had to say. Whether we agree with whether you guys agree with it or not, that is how it is. Playing spin well is going to be so important. It might not. I mean, if Shukri's thought process is correct, it, I think that we'll struggle a little bit more against the swing bowlers and guys that are maybe more medium pacers, particularly in the one days, than we would against the spinners. If that theory is correct, someone like Junaid Down would have learned so much from this tour. Just my opinion, but Mutasami is way overrated. In fact, Linda is a superior player to him, and that's fact, says Lorenzo. While the coaches don't seem to think so clearly by the selection that they have selected. Let's move on to the next quotes before I get the panel on. There are some more quotes that from Werner's article as well. He says the tour. Shukri said that the tour is an opportunity for some of the Proteas who have had limited opportunities this year to grow and to reward guys who have done well in the season. There are spots up for grabs, and it is a great opportunity. The middle order is a work in progress, and come the India series, we want to settle a team. We are hoping that there will be another SIA tour inbound. The players will know that big performances in these tours will go a long way for them to possibly knocking down a door for the national side or giving us something to think about. So my theories were correct based on was in Werner's article, my theories were correct about the thinking behind everything, and what Shukri was thinking about the team and the squad by giving people opportunities and trying to find that extra batter. And in my opinion, um, there can be um, there is a spot in that test side, particularly I think in that five position that we need to fill. So let's see what happens with regards to that. Lorenzo says over here, coaches can be wrong, and yes, they can be wrong. So let's see after the tour whether he is wrong or whether he is right. Um, and I've said many times before in other shows, when it comes to certain decisions that he's made, I have mentioned it and said that I disagree. But there are certain things that when I think about it and I logic it out, if it makes sense to me, then there's no need for me to be critical about it. So, based on the theory on this particular ground and these particular conditions, if the coach is correct, then I can understand the selection choices. But if he is wrong, then we can sit at the end of this particular tour and we can discuss that again and obviously say, you know what, he was wrong. He didn't get that decision correct. Um, I do, like I said before, I do think that Sabrain was a bit unlucky to miss out on the squad, and they could have maybe left out one more seamer in place to give Cineran an opportunity. That could have been could have happened because we do have quite a few seamers in this particular side, as you can see over here. We're going in with a heavy seam attack on this tour. As you can see, Tsepo, Lutasipamla, Lazard, Bayers, and Gerald. So we do have quite a few seamers over here. That does mean, though, that the spotlight will definitely be on the likes of Deerwold and Tristan when it comes to the ball. They're going to really test them to see whether they are good enough to be able to hold their own with the ball. So let's see what happens with regards to that and the tour. Let's get the panel on. We've got Werner with us. We've got Ungama with us. We've got Stuart with us. Welcome to the show, guys. It's a long time that I've had a full panel. It's good to see all of you. How are you all doing? I hope you're all well. Let's start off with Werner in the top right over there. Give me some insight into your thoughts when you saw the squad. I mean, obviously, the quotes from Shukri from your article. How are you feeling going ahead into this particular game and into this particular series?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think it's a good squad that they assembled. I also had the question about the lack of spinners, of course. I think I agree. If Shukri is correct in his assessment that the pitches won't really turn based at the Mbula where he was prior, or Palakele, just because they want to prepare well for the qualifiers and they don't want big turning wickets necessarily in the lead up, then it does make sense in some degree. I think it wouldn't have hurt to have a second spinner necessarily, even if you don't use both in the end. But this is the way he decided to go, and he's backing that decision. And look, well, I personally would love to see Stubbs and Brevis bowl a bit more. So I'm not too disappointed with how it's turned out, the squad. So I look forward to seeing both of them get a bit of a run with the ball. And yeah, so plenty of young, exciting talent on display. Apart from Brevis and Stubbs, you have Jordan Herman, who I've been talking highly about for a long time. Matthew Brietska, who had an outstanding season. Bayer Swanepoel, top of the log with the wicket takers. He's been outstanding, moving the ball around, being very consistent. Could probably bring a bit with the bat as well. Just overall, I'm pretty happy with the squad, and I look forward to. Hopefully, we will see a stream of it. I'd love to be able to watch it back. But even if we don't, I just hope for some good performances and a good experience for all of the guys.
Now, Ngama, you wrote two articles today on the SAA tour for IOL, and you gave basically your five players that you think have good stories going into this particular into the tour, who the guys that you think are going to stand out. Can you maybe give me some insight into your thoughts? Which players you are looking forward to seeing, and who do you think this will be a big tour for?
Yeah, I want to start firstly with those quotes over there from Shukri. in Werner's article. That really showed like some good awareness from the coach, because I really think that's what's gonna happen, And at the end of the day, man, regardless of the conditions, as a bowler, for you to get a wicket, you need to put the ball in the right spot, And I believe with this bowling attack that we have here, Luto Sipamla, those are guys with a point to prove. Those are guys that have played Test cricket and then dropped. Now they have an opportunity for themselves to actually get back into that Test squad. So I think, regardless of the conditions, that bowling attack is exactly how it's supposed to. Bearing in mind as well the fact that we have Jesus Rabada, who have been complaining about his workload. So we need guys to be ready, in the fringes. That's why I like this bowling attack, man. I'm expecting Patron, like I said in that article. I think that guy is ready. It's just insane skill and control. I think up front, I'm happy with him. I'm really looking forward to see what he's gonna do at this level. Obviously Matthew Bretzke, like I said in the article, Zubair Hamza as well, someone else who has a point to prove. I think it's gonna be one of those inspirational stories. This one with Zubair, and with him having moved to the Lions now, new environment, fresh start, and then getting this opportunity now. I think even someone like Keegan Peterson, So I'm expecting some of those guys, man, to really stand out in this tour, especially like the red ball format.
Hmm. Stuart, I want to go on to your thoughts, particularly because we're playing the 50 over matches first. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to be that main spinner over there. There hasn't been necessarily a lot of people that have been on centered on side with regards to his selection. As you can see in the live chat as well, a lot of people are still calling out for Geoff Linde to be a part of the South African setup, and the coaches and the selectors or the selectors are the coaches ultimately. So they've decided not to go in that direction. It's a big tour for Senator, and don't you think to maybe squash some of those critics? Do you think that he'll be thinking about that going into this particular tour?
Mm. Yeah, Khalid, I do think that it is a lot of pressure on him at this stage going into the tour. Um, but having said that, he has shown his class an odd moment, well, in the odd game here and there. So I do believe that he will come through it. I get what you guys are saying in terms of, the conditions and the selection. And I agree that the fast bowlers that we picked are great fast bowlers. But in terms of World Cup preparation, even though the conditions may not necessarily have dictated selecting X amounts of spinners, I'd have thought that we would have at least maybe picked two spinners, and I don't know, maybe someone like Bjorn Fortuin or George Linder could have been the second spinner, and just to see who potentially could perform better. So I do think it is a lot of pressure on him. I also think, the fact that he's an all-rounder, he also needs to contribute with the bat. But yeah, I mean, there's also a couple of, I like the batters that we picked as well. I'd have thought Josh Richards maybe could have, been there or thereabouts, but it is a good team and I can see why these players were selected. And yeah, all in all, I'm very optimistic about the tour.
Yeah, just to give you guys an update as well on the a game that's taking place in the KZN area, or you could say, there is a invitational match happening with an invitational Hollywood Bets Dolphins players plus some extra Proteas players: Temba Bavuma, Bjorn Fortuin, Janaman Malan, Antile Pechlikwayo, Lungi Ngidi, Ryan Rickleton, Debre Shamsi, and Rassi van der Dussen. They'll all be playing in some matches against Oman ahead of Oman's preparation for the qualifiers as well. Both will be played in Chatsworth. One game was supposed to start today, but it was delayed or pushed till tomorrow because of bad weather. So both will be played in Chatsworth, and the first one starting tomorrow. So at least those players will be obviously also looked at um, and looked at closely in that particular camp as well. Just to give some updates on that. So I get your points to it with regards to that, and maybe having an extra spinner. I don't know how I feel about it quite yet, because my first thought was, like everybody else, was why aren't we picking two spinners in Sri Lanka? That was my first thought when I heard that. But after seeing after speaking to some people, after speaking to Shukri as well, and understanding their mentality, or his mentality going into this, I understood why they went with this selection. Also, the emphasis on Deerwald and Tristan, to try and get them up to speed with bowling to give Rob a headache. I like that mentality going into this. So, Van, are you back again? I just want to ask you. Ongama gave his selection of guys, or guys that he thinks that this is going to be a big tour for. Now, who do you think this will be a big tour for? I know that you're a fan of Jordan Herman, and there are some other guys in the squad that you do take a liking to. Because I mean, Bayes Swanepoel wasn't originally in the squad, so it was Corbin Bosch before, and then was Corbin Bosch got injured. So who are the names that you think this can be a very big tour for? Who do you think can do well in this tour, and maybe make this Shukri and Rob and Enoch maybe think differently about the next or India tour, or even maybe one of the ODI tours?
Yeah, I think it's a massive one for Kyle Verreynne, just in the way he was dropped in favor of Klaasen, even though Kyle was our best batter probably in Australia. I think that was probably a hard one to take for him. But then he came back and obviously performed very well domestically for the VP Blitz. So I think this is a big one for him. If he can make a big statement again here, it'll put a lot of pressure on Klaas in particular, who hasn't fired yet in Test cricket. So it's going to be major for him. I think Bayer Swanepoel definitely. I was surprised he wasn't included originally, but glad he made his way in, even though it was through injury. I do back him to do well. But yeah, there's a few guys. I did mention Jordan Herman, Matthew Brietska. Good one for Chepo Moreki as well. I know not a lot of people have seen that much of him, but I was very impressed with him last season. He's really got his speeds up there to 140, 140 plus, getting it through rushing batters. So excellent opportunity for him, a first real go at this level. So that's fantastic for him as well. Obviously, Terry Dezorzi will want to continue with what he started with for the Proteas, so just some good momentum. I think somebody that could really do a good tour as well is Keegan Peterson. Obviously, he was brilliant against India, but then he had injury struggles and he hasn't really fired since coming back. He hasn't done much. So I think for both for Keegan and for Kyle, these are important matches coming up, especially the 4-day matches. I think the 1-day matches it was almost an afterthought just to get them in there because Sri Lanka they needed to prepare. So the main focus will be on the 4-day series. But even in the 1-days to get, obviously it's before the 4-day game, so it's good to get themselves in, get their eyes in, get sort of used to conditions, to just feel some bat on ball before getting into what will be their main focus as well.
Onkama, are you back? There's a comment over here in the live chat that I want to ask you particularly, because you got to see Bayes quite closely, obviously live a couple of games, because I mean obviously covering at St George's Park, etc. Some games. He says big tour for guys like Bayes and Luto. I feel like if Bayes stands out and he performs, he might even put his name into the hat for Cricket World Cup 2023. What are your thoughts on that? Are you with us? I don't think he's with us. Okay. Stuart, you want to answer this question? I don't, maybe it's not, you didn't get to see him as closely, but we can maybe ask him when he is available later. But do you think there's a spot available for the Cricket World Cup for him? Do you see him being able to, because I'm looking at the team and the ODI team and what would be the best 11, right? And we've already spoken about it yesterday about some of the spots that are maybe open or available, I would say, or open for competition. And number 7 is a spot that we did speak about because we've kind of always put a number 8 type of play in that position. We haven't really found that batting all rounder that we can really, really trust. I mean, I'm a big fan of Marco, and I think he can in the future become that. But at the moment, he's probably more of an 8. So is Wayne. So is Sasanda Magala. So your thoughts on Bayers?
Yeah, I think definitely they could be in the conversation. Um, Look, it will all depend though on the selection panel, what they want to go with. Personally speaking, I'd try pick maybe, I don't know, like maybe 2 or 3 spinners if we're taking, let's say, a 15-man squad. But having said that, if one of our fast bowlers gets injured before the World Cup, I definitely think these guys could be in the conversation. I think, Luto also playing international cricket before, definitely helps him as well. So I definitely think they could be in the conversation to be selected.
Mhm. Now, I know Lawrence is asking for whether we have the Sri Lanka A squad. I haven't been able to find it. I've been looking for it. Um, and I haven't been able to find it personally. I don't know if you have, Anna.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I suppose there will be a lot of the main Sri Lanka squad, part of the 1 day games, just as that preparation for the qualifiers, and
Hmm.
then there'll probably be more of a real Sri Lanka A squad for the 4 day games.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see when they do release that, and we'll obviously do a show as soon as they do, so that we can obviously compare it to the squad that was picked from our perspective. Um, we've got Ongama. Are you back yet? I don't know. Okay, so Tabo says Stubbs also has to prove himself. He's lacking confidence at the moment and under pressure to perform in the international cricket. He needs to go back to domestic cricket and perform consistently, says Tabo. Well, he had a good domestic season, actually. Vena, you can talk a little bit more on Stubbs because I think both of us have spoken about how underwhelmed we were with him in the SA in the SA 20. So I mean, he did perform well for the Warriors particularly in the 1 days. So where are you currently with Stubbs? And your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think it's a you could probably do with a bit of confidence, but he was very good in the 1 day cup. I can't remember who was second or third leading. I think third leading run scorer. Made a wonderful 100 at St George's. I think it was 140 maybe. I can't remember the exact score, but that was an excellent innings and showed exactly what he's capable of. So I think it's just a bit of game time, really. He hasn't had consistent game time now for a while with the IPL going on, and it was a struggle for him in the SA 20. But that can happen, especially early in a player's career with a lot of hype around. It can happen sometimes that you have a bit of an underwhelming tournament, and then everybody sort of looks past the player, and I don't think that's fair. Very talented guy, can do everything on the field. It brings a lot of energy. I'm expecting big things from him still, and I think this will be a good tour for him. I think it will be do him good to bowl as well. He bowled very well on the 100 last year, and I think that sort of will grow into his game.
Hmm. Yeah. Let's. I'm gonna ask you, Stuart, because I don't think you've got had an opportunity to maybe talk enough about Linda. Lorenzo's going to bring it up always in everything, and most fans will because he is a favorite on the channel. I mean, we could see that with my interview that I did with him. So a lot of people asked for me to actually get him on the show and him to tell his story, and he was very open and honest about everything on that particular show. So please go, guys, and watch that show if you haven't yet. But your thoughts on Linda? Do you think that he's also someone that was unlucky to miss out? Because I mean, we look at Kent, and it doesn't seem like they are too keen on playing him in every single match either. So, is there something we're missing maybe as fans, or when it comes to George Linder?
I honestly think, and I agree with Lorenzo and a lot of the people in the chat. I think he has been one of the most unluckiest players not to be selected. I personally, he would probably be one of the first names on the team sheet that I'd have in India. I'm not sure why he was dropped. And when I watched him play in the One Day Cup final, the Wanderers, he was very, very impressive. Um, and I know in T20 cricket, he's also bowled with the new ball as well. And, he can contribute quite a bit with the bat. So I honestly don't see why he isn't at least even in the conversation. It just blows my mind. But I do think that I don't know if there is something that we're missing. Maybe they don't trust him in certain situations. I don't know if that's up to the coaches, but
Mhm.
especially in white ball cricket, I think he is an absolute um, kind of a player from what I've seen. And yeah, I'd love to see him go to the World Cup.
Yeah, so I can show you some stats from George Linder recently for Kent. He played for Kent second team against Essex second team of the year, scoring 87 and 45, and then taking 2 for 49 and 0 for 33. And then over year again, he scored a 15, and then the 24th and 2 for 10. And then for Kent second again against Hans second 11, 50, not out, 1 for 24. Um, then in the T20 so far, hasn't really got going yet. 0 for 29, 1 for 50, and a duck, and then 13, and then 0 for 16. So far it hasn't really in the obviously for in these in these other games for the second team he's been doing pretty decently, but as soon as he's playing for the first 11, it doesn't seem like he's been putting in the performances at the same level as what he was in the for the second 11. Um, but let's see what happens with George, because this is not going to be a stream about George. It's supposed to be about focusing on the players that have made the SAA team. So let's go into a little bit of the other guys. Lazard Williams. I think he's been quite unlucky to not get more game time for the Proteas ultimately. Werner, do you want to maybe talk about some of the seeming options that we do have available? Lutus Pamla. I mean, when he did play for the test team in a difficult period, he did well when he did get the chance. In the white ball arena, not necessarily living up to the expectations, but it's another opportunity for him to show what he's capable of. Lazard also to show that he can be one of the main bowlers in a team to lead the attack.
Yeah, I do agree. I think both of them will probably focus on the white ball format. No, sorry, Lazard will focus on the white ball format at this stage. He has a very good Yorker, good bouncer, good slow ball. I think our test squad is pretty much in terms of bowlers settled, especially if you think that Lungi and Giri isn't even in the current squad that played against the West Indies. I think Lutus Pamla showed very good control in the New Zealand tour. um, he probably consider himself a bit unlucky not to be in the squad already. So definitely a point to prove. I think Lazard could still go for a spot in our white ball teams. So definitely big for him there. Just to get back to an earlier point, I was probably wrong about the Sri Lanka um, squad because for some reason I missed that they're playing against this, Afghanistan in
Yes.
3 ODIs. So that it's probably not going to be the way I thought it would be. So it will be a proper SA Sri Lanka A squad. Then that will face up to SAA. So that's probably changed sometime between the last time I checked. But in any case, so yeah, so our other bowlers, all of them. So Sipamla, we have Williams, we have Chepu Moreki, who I mentioned earlier. Obviously, Bayo Swanepoel. Um, and yeah, those are the main guys. Did I miss anybody? Jared Kutsia, of course. More game time for him. I think he's a lot of people were calling out for him to potentially be picked in the IPL as a replacement player. you might find that he declined an offer rather going into an auction at the end of the year, potentially going for a bit more money. So good opportunity for him to get some eyes on him again and just get some overs under the belt. I think most of our bowlers have had some off time now, so it's a good time for them to get back on the field.
Yeah, and I didn't think. I mean, let's talk about the batters again. I mean, I think that we understand from a bowler's perspective. It's going to be interesting to see how we set up in the ODIs and then set up in the 4 day, and which players are going to be favored there. We've spoken enough about Brevis. We've spoken enough about Stubbs, the two guys that are going to be taking a lot more opportunities with the ball. I want to talk about Zubair Hamza, who is someone I know Ungama mentioned it a little bit earlier on, but I know Stuart, you've been a big fan of his as well. He's moving now to the line, so it's a bit closer to you guys, to be able to watch. He may be in some games when he plays against the Titans, or when you guys, if you guys do take your trip down to obviously Wanderers Stadium to go watch him live again. I would like you guys to report back to me, because now I don't have that in my backyard, basically going to be able to watch him play. So it is a big opportunity for him. Now, with Tony De Zorzi in the test side, looking to have taken that number 3 spot as his own currently, or he seems to be favored in that number 3 spot for the test side. Do you think there's maybe a position change for Zubair Hamza? I know he bats 4 for Western Province, but could he maybe also be in contention or in a fight for that 5 position, perhaps between Keegan Peterson, perhaps Matthew Brzezinski, perhaps those players? I would like you and Werner to obviously comment on this.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think him moving up to the Lions was a great decision for him. I think he'll do quite well up here. You know, the wickets are quite nice to bat on at the Wanderers sometimes, so I think he'll do very well. I think this is a big series for him. Obviously he's had his ban recently, and I know he came back. I think his first game was a one-day cup final last year. I mean, not last year, earlier this year. So I definitely think that he could be in the conversation for that number 5 spot. I think maybe Kyle could also be in the conversation for that, Kyle Verena. But yeah, I'd say it would be between them. But I think this series will be I don't say a big determining factor, but it will be a good indicator to see, in different conditions who performs and puts their hand up. So, yeah.
I mean, Werner, I'm not necessarily saying that is where he's going to be going for that position, but only logically speaking, if I think about it, I mean, Tony looks like a shoe-in for like he's the certainty for the number 3 spot now in the South African side, and we have the captain at 4. So, I mean, the next logical position for him, if he's going to try and get a spot, it would be that position that is open and vacant at the moment, where there is a lot of competition and changes happened over the last couple of tests.
Yeah, I do agree. I think 5 and 6 is pretty open at this stage, and it might be like a bit of a straight shootout between Hamza, Peterson, and Brzezinski for a potential slot in that middle order. Obviously, the first 2 have represented the Proteas and might have a bit of an edge to get back in if they do well. But no reason that Brzezinski can't be in that same conversation. I mean, the guy scored over 700 runs in the 4-day series. Incredible numbers, outstanding season in general. So there's no reason he can't be part of that conversation. I guess most of the guys that are there would like to go for a spot there. I think somebody like Stubbs and Brevis don't have a lot of 4-day experience, and so this is probably a lot for part of that learning curve for them, and probably a lot of their focus will also be on the one day stuff. But obviously both of them want to play red ball cricket, so great opportunity if they do get it. Quite a big squad, so it's not they won't necessarily play both games, all the batters or all the bowlers. Hopefully, seeing that it is a bit of a developmental sort of tour, that we will see all the players get an opportunity at least 1 or 2 games to show what they can do and give them that what's the word? But just give that experience. So I look forward to it. It'd be good to see Hamza back. As I said earlier, Peterson does need some good runs under the belt. I look forward to seeing what Brieska will do, and Jordan Herman always probably a bit tougher to break into the test squad as an opener right now until they decide that Algar might not be giving enough anymore. But it's always good to be knocking on that door for when that opportunity does come.
Mhm. Okay, guys, I want to try and do something with you guys both and combine our heads together here and try to pick an 11. Um, let's start with the ODI team. Um, if because I mean that's what's going to be coming out. Okay, wait. Let me not do this on this show. I want to keep a little bit of suspense. We'll do a little team selection show before the ODIs and one before the 4 days, rather, so that we can actually have a proper think about it and maybe get us all together again for that to prolong the shows. Otherwise, I do everything in one show. Let's try to get some of your final thoughts on this particular team. I'm this particular tour going into this. I mean, we also have Tony Resorts. We've barely spoken about Tony. He's on a captain in this particular on this particular tour. It's a new role for him with regards to at this national level, not necessarily as a captain because he's under 19 captain. He's captained the Western Province Blitz team as well, so he's not unfamiliar with being a captain. But for a SIA side, captaincy. I mean, he spoke earlier today as well about the captaincy, obviously saying that it's an honor, and obviously speaking about the excitement that he has for this particular tour. I can read you the quotes quickly, straight from his mouth, saying, "I'm quite excited about the challenge of leading the A side for the tour. It's a massive honor, and I'm really pleased to be given the job. We have a very talented squad of players that have been put together by Coach Shukri. I'm pleased to be working with them and look forward to learning from them as well." So a very normal, ordinary answer with regards to that. But let's get your final thoughts on this before I get into the live chat. Stuart?
Oh, sorry. I didn't know if you wanted 1 minute to go.
Sorry, I didn't let you know.
Yeah, look, I think, as fans, we need to be mindful that, I'm not saying we're going to do badly, but as Vanna and you highlighted, this is a tour where players are there to learn. Um, you know, Even if we lose every game, but, each player's taken something out that they can develop their game and take back. It's great experience for them. Um, I am really excited to see Tony captain the team. I think it would be a good, stepping stone for him. I think he is a potential candidate for future Proteas captain. So I do think it is a great move to make him captain. But yeah, I'm very excited to see, how the conditions play out. I'm also wondering, if there'll be a bit of reverse swing. So, I'm hoping to see, if Gerald can do that a little bit on the subcontinent. But I'm very excited. I think all in all, it's just a great tour to learn and just to give the young players a chance, and hopefully for Shukri to see where, and Rob to see where they're lacking and how they can improve.
Vera, before you get going, you shared something very funny on your channel earlier on. I'm just gonna share it with the people as well, so that they can also get a taste of our of our captain over here, Tony Rizzosi, obviously on Instagram. I don't know if you guys follow him on Instagram, but he is hilarious to follow on Instagram. He's really funny with some of the stories that he posts, etc. So let me just play this for you guys so that you guys can hear.
I'm not a big enough dog. My bank card's not black or anything, so I can't really get into any international houses. But I decided if I speak French and just like mumble, and I can't speak French, maybe they'll just let me in. So let's see how it goes. Bonjour, ça va? Le pays ou café spécial? Bonjour, va? Le même? Oui, oui, oui. vá, Jesus, me. Mas eles não français. Bonjour, mon vie, Momo, I'm inside.
So that was quite funny. I just thought I'll share that with you guys. So thank you, Werner, for always giving us quality content on your Twitter account. Go follow him over there as well. Werner, your final thoughts.
Yeah, great from Tony, and I think he'll make a good captain of this side as well. I think people will really gravitate towards him, and yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for players to learn from each other as well. I mean, to tap into some of the experiences Kyle has had, Zubair has had, Keegan has had, even Gerald in his first series. There's a lot of things that the other players can get out of it, just being around them and in the squad, not just the matches they will play themselves. And I look forward to seeing Diego Brevis, Tristan Stubbs get some game time. I mean, it was a long IPL. I probably watched a bit more of it than you guys would have. And obviously a long tournament and a long one for Diego Brevis to not play a single match and Tristan to play two matches. So obviously they would have had plenty of practice in the net, and they'll be raring to go out and show what they can do. And yeah, just very excited. So I am keeping my fingers crossed that we will have a stream to watch, that we don't just have to go off scorecards, but that we can get a bit more context to the games. But if not, I'm sure we'll get feedback from Shukri afterwards and get his insights. But yeah, it's exciting. It's an exciting squad. I think it's been a while since I've seen a SAA squad that's got this amount of youngsters in that I'm excited to watch, and just based on their domestic performances, and also then in combination with some of those experienced guys who need some game time. So all in all, pretty exciting tour ahead, and I'm glad it's just around the corner.
Yeah, and I think the headline, of course, outcomes South African fans want to see. Now, Nonombongolo, he tweeted on our tweet, of course, he replied to our tweet mentioning some outcomes basically that he thinks that the team should take. He said 8 words are not about outcomes, about opportunity and following. It's about opportunity of following processes, which are outcomes in my opinion. But that's besides the point. To see them develop, playing a brand of cricket that Proteas look to play, and be very competitive in those difficult conditions. So I think those are excellent points to end off with regards to that. Lorenzo saying, what is, oh, that's something else. Sorry. I hope they'll stream the A games at least. Yes, I agree. Ashes predictions, guys. We can get into that before we end the stream. Where's Dwan Olivier? He's not even in the A squads. He's not really in contention for the Proteas at the moment. Didn't he, Werner, didn't he recently um not retire, but didn't he recently say that he doesn't want to, or he's not going to play 4-day cricket or something? I can't remember something. There was something in the news about Juan Olivier. I can't necessarily remember it exactly.
No, I'm not sure. He is in the Lions squad for this upcoming season. I'm sure he'll play plenty of 4-day games. It's probably still his main focus. So we might see him back. I think that it's the problem for him is all the pace he's lost. And he needs to be a lot more consistent if he wants the ball with that pace. And he doesn't move the ball off the wicket that much. So he needs to, if he's going to bowl a Bayer Schwanepoel type of pace, or even slower, he's going to have he's going to have his sort of control and movement. So we'll see. Maybe he comes back, has another fantastic season for the Lions, takes plenty of wickets, but we'll have to look at it from a perspective of how many of those wickets come at the Bouncy Wanderers and how many of those wickets come at the other venues.
It was problems with his England contract that I saw. Yeah, with his county team. Sorry, that's what I actually saw on the news. Where is the SA game going to be streaming on YouTube? I'm hoping that it's going to be on Sri Lanka's YouTube channel, because they sometimes do give us gems like that. I remember I can't remember which tour it was, but there was a tour or a game that we played against Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka not a long time, a long time ago, and they played it on the YouTube channel. It must be a very long time ago. So I'm hoping that that will happen. Do you think Brevis is good enough to compete with Shabman Gill? I do think they are different players, in my opinion. But I think Brevis has to first try and get game time in IPL. I think that's the first step, before we can obviously start talking about him and obviously get into a Proteas setup and play more games domestically too. Before we can really start speaking about him, and the future of him, because we heard the coach Manda Mashimbi speak about Dewald, saying that there's no rush for him. He's still young. He came on Cricket Fanatics to say that actually. So you can go watch that show, because we did ask. I asked him directly and I asked him openly about that. I wanted to know what's going on with Dewald Brevis, and one of the fans also asked him the same question, and he answered it. So go ahead and go check what he said about Dewald there as well.
The good thing for Devold in this case is that the way the Titan squad is for next season, there's a good chance that he'll get a lot more 4-day games to play. And obviously, we've heard that the hope is that there will be potentially be 10 matches in the 4-day series. So if that does happen and the squad is as it is, especially when the Proteas are not available, right? I do think that Devold will get a lot more game time, so that will be good for him.
Hmm. Yeah, because we saw the FTP yesterday, and the SA20 might, cause some issues for the tour to New Zealand. I don't know what's going to happen over there, if they got if they're going to make them available, the Proteas players available for for South Africa, which I hope they do, because we never know. Because with the amount of money coming into the SA20, that's our main brand. I've seen crazy things being spoken about and crazy things happen. So I'm just obviously hoping that um, that doesn't happen. That we take a full strength team to New Zealand, of course, and the Proteas do get released with regards to that. If it does overlap, I mean, the SA20 they can change it still. I mean, and they don't have to. I don't think they have obligation to play it exactly the same time every single season. So it could
But I
possibly be
think
changed around.
I think it wouldn't make sense, if I'm honest, to move it. If you think about the time of year that it is, people being on holiday. So I do agree. I'd want to see the best Proteas players there, but I don't see it being moved from a business point of
Do
view.
we? I missed. Did they give dates for the tour to New Zealand, or is it like sometime in February next year?
I'll bring it up now. I have the FTP over here on my site. It's just taking a while to load.
Because what I'm thinking is that there won't be a break in the SA20 this time, right? There won't be like a England
No.
pre-ODI series that needs to be done. So with the amount of matches, it isn't that much. It can probably all be completed in January already. And then
Yeah.
if the New Zealand tour only starts in February, they should be good to go. The only problem is that they won't really have any test preparation, but there's nothing really new for the Proteas. We'll get
Yeah.
there. The first match will be steamrolled, and then the second match will come back and win.
So it just says February 2024, South Africa tour to New Zealand. So two tests. I haven't given the actual dates yet. But if I think about it, two tests, 5 days, break in between, that takes at least 3 weeks out of your 3.5 weeks. It's gone out of the February month, and it's already a shortened month, you could say. So for them to, I don't know how they're going to fit in everything. And we're going to have to wait and see, because obviously India also come here in January, so December, January. So that's a quick turnaround, and then go to us. Just hope that the test players do get released, and they do play, if it does clash with the SA20. But I hope that it doesn't. Okay, predictions for the. Do you guys want to give predictions for the WTC final? Let's do it.
So I think India will win. I think they've just got a quality team. I know Australia have been playing very well, and a lot of their players like Marnus and Steve Smith have been playing well in county cricket. But I just think India as a unit, they've been in the situation before. They know what to expect. So I think India will win it, but I think it will be a lot closer than people think.
I think Australia is gonna win it. Yeah, so I think with Steve Smith and Manu spending some time there, Stark ditched the IPL for the 100th time to focus on the Red Bull stuff. Pat Cummins obviously went back early for his mother, but then got back into training again. Um, I think more of their players have been focused on the Red Bull and in preparation for this one of important match that India have. But then again, most of the India players are in form, even though it was a different format. So it should be a good contest. I do think Australia have the edge as it is at the Oval, which is generally a flatter track, and their bowlers are used to bowling on that type of tracks, and their batters just more runs. So we'll see. But I think Australia is going to take it.
It's going to be a battle of the swing bowlers, though. That's definitely going to be something that I'm going to be looking forward to. I mean, you know, conditions. You never. This is always going to be exciting to see those guys, battle against each other. I mean, it's top quality bowling attacks both on both sides. I feel. And India's batters have the talent and have the ability, and obviously they wouldn't have gotten to a World Test Championship final if they didn't have good batters. But I just they haven't necessarily done it like Australia has. Score those massive hundreds on a regular. Like Australia's batters do this in their sleep. They really do. So I'm gonna sit on the fence with it because I don't like Australia, so I'm obviously gonna just pick India. So, but if I look at it, I think it's going to be an entertaining clash in my opinion, because I think that everybody has secret weapon or massive weapons in their arsenal that can really exploit the conditions, which I think is going to be the main factor. I think in any test match for me, conditions, the way you exploit those conditions are very important.
Do you, sorry to interrupt, but do you not also think psychologically India beating Australia in Australia not so long ago could also be a factor, maybe in the Australian players being a little bit nervous? Or do you think now that Lang is gone, that they're confident in who they are, and just on recent form, they've been a great test team over the past, let's say, year since Lang has left. So I'm not entirely sure how much that will factor in.
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent point. I mean, on the mental side of the game, particularly in Test cricket, is always going to play its part. And when India is confident and they fully believe in themselves and they are confident in their ability, they're a very dangerous team to play. So I'm gonna go. I'm sitting on the more in the Indian camp than in the Australia camp, just purely because I don't like Australia. Um, but I mean, with Labuschagne and flipping Steve Smith and those guys that can really batter all day, and they haven't really shown too many signs of weaknesses when it comes to opposition bowling attacks necessarily, to the degree that the South African batters show where they face other teams or other teams. For example, even England to an extent, you could say some of their batters show a little bit of weaknesses, particularly in their top order. Um, um, when it comes to a specialist bowlers, etc., that can exploit the conditions. Vena, you still 100% in the Australia camp, and Stuart, you in the India camp. So let's see who wins at the
I
end.
won't go as far as saying I'm in their camp. I think I might edge it, but I'll never be in Aussie camp. Never.
Yeah, in this particular one-off game, let's just say that. Yeah, they might. I'm predicting a close game. I don't think it's going to be. These are outright winner. I think because it's a once-off game, Australia, when it comes to those pressure situations, they just always seem to edge those situations in general. When it comes to those one-off moments, when it comes to World Cup finals, when it comes to, of course, those type of situations. Australians just do something extra mentally. I don't know what it is in there, what they eat, what's in their cereal, what they inject their cows with or whatever. But there's there's something this in the water there in Australia that makes them have that extra winning edge when it comes to pressure situations and just knowing how to get over the line. So let's see. Um, so Lauren saying nope, it's been announced that they'll be using the Duke ball, right? So yeah, Duke ball in England. I mean, I don't know the swing for me, like the swing bowlers that the India have in their arsenal. They're so skillful and they're bloody dangerous. So let's see. I mean, Mitchell Stark. I mean, we saw how Mitchell Stark can reverse swing balls in the 20th over already. No, I'm just joking. No ball tapping. No ball tapping jokes there. So okay, let's see what happens in that particular match. Ashes. Someone wanted to ask the petition for the Ashes. I think Australia will take that one.
I think England will win the Ashes.
You are
I
still.
think Australia will win. I think it will be a very competitive series. I don't think it'll be like a 4 or 5-0 win like Glenn McGrath always predicts. But I definitely think, baseball, I think while it has been effective, I think we have seen times where it doesn't always work. And I think, as you guys have highlighted, the quality of that Australian bowling attack is very, very good. So, yeah, I think Australia will probably win maybe 3-2.
Yeah, and it's maybe a little bit of a cheat for them going into that series. That the fact that they're going to be playing a final, obviously, in those
Now,
conditions
England will
as
be
well.
playing Ireland, so let's see how that goes.
Let's see how that goes. Okay, guys, thanks a lot. Werner, thanks a lot for coming on the show. Stuart, as well as Ungama, to all the fans in the live chat as well. Thanks a lot for joining the show and giving me an amazing stream. I really enjoyed the stream a lot. It's good to be back again. And I'll see you guys obviously very soon. But before I get going, before I say bye to you guys, please just do a couple of things for me. Subscribe to the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics Magazine Monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. I'd also like you guys to please become a patron today to help us support our content creators as well as us as a channel and as a magazine, etc. By becoming a Patreon, it's as little as a coffee a day. You can choose your tier that you want to select. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. Also, help us get into the community feeds by smashing that like button and commenting and sharing. And then also, I would like you guys to go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all your regular updates as well. So, without further ado, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you again very, very soon for another daily show. Take care, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace out.